All right, good afternoon. I appreciate you guys staying out here in this heat and this weather. I want to start off with some good news on our victims. All three victims are okay at this point in time. I want to tell you that one of the victims was a student. He went into surgery. He is in ICU. He is out of surgery at this point in time. That's great news. We need to make sure that we keep him in thoughts and prayers, the families. We have an adult male who is not in surgery but is in good condition. And then we have a female that was also maybe grazed by a bullet or injured in some way. I don't have all the facts. That person is expected to be released hopefully today. So two will remain in the hospital, which continue to make hopefully a speedy recovery. Again, we need to make sure that we pray and also pray for their families. The good news is our suspect is in custody. Timothy Simpkins is in custody. He is currently in the police station at Odd Cribs in Arlington, Texas. The detectives are talking to him at this point in time. He will be charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 3 counts. I also wanted to say good news is that all our students have now been evacuated from the school. We had about 1,700 students here at Timberview High School. And we're glad that they're safe. We're trying to reunite them with their families and ensure that we have victim services. We know that this is a tragedy, a traumatic incident for these high school kids. So we have a tremendous amount of FBI, Arlington Police Department victim services that will hopefully talk with them and help them through this tragic incident. Also, I want you to know that we've increased security with additional police officers at all of our schools in Arlington. Now, all the schools have been locked out, not locked in, locked out, meaning nobody can get into the schools in Arlington and the Mansfield Independent School District. We are going to immediately release that and make sure that the parents can come in and they can be released. A lockout means that they are free to move within the school itself. So, but nobody can enter those schools. This is going to be a long-term, continuing investigation and processing the crime scene. So I will tell you again, I'm very proud to be part of this community. The Grand Prairie Police Department, Arlington Police Department, Mansfield Police Department, Mansfield Independent School District, and our federal partners. So it's going to be a long-term criminal investigation, which the Arlington Police Department will be the lead on the criminal side. The FBI is helping us here and will process the crime scene. We have ATF, that we do have a weapon that was recovered. It was recovered in the streets in Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie Police Department recovered that. It is going to be turned over to ATF to run ballistics. More to come on that. I also just want to talk a little bit about social media. We've been having a lot of social media comments about threats to our schools from young kids. I want the message to be out there that this is not something to continue. We will investigate you. The federal government will also, our partners will be able to investigate you if you're not living in our city, and we will bring you to successful prosecution. So I'm just pleading with the community out there to try to stop any type of threats that are coming through social media. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Sesney.
Thank you, Kevin. Chief Sesney with Grand Prairie Police. Just a couple of comments I'd like to add and to underscore. Our teams have finished searching the school. We didn't find any additional threats. The suspect is in custody. I really want to underscore a point that Chief Colby just made. A lot of our law enforcement resources were being diverted with inaccurate social media threats. I've got a call to action for parents. Take a look at your kids' social media. If they're putting out threats on their schools, they're going to be arrested and they're going to be prosecuted. It's very important that you get involved with your kids' social media. During the entire onset of this event, our teams were being divided away from leads of our suspect location with inaccurate information at schools all over North Texas. So it would be very helpful to us for our parents to take a look at their social media accounts of their kids. Last thing I'll say is the collaborative effort with the Arlington Police Department, the Grand Prairie Police Department, the Marshals, North Texas Fugitive Task Force, and others, Arlington or Mansfield ISD, worked very well together to get the suspect into custody very quickly. I can tell you there is no danger to the public is safe, and the suspect is in custody. As it relates to the weapon mentioned by Chief Colby, our officers have transported a weapon they located in the street. We cannot confirm yet that it is the weapon. We believe it may be the weapon. It is being transported to our partners at the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms team to do some analysis to determine if it's the right weapon. Chief Colby's team and Chief Jones with Arlington Police is going to run lead on any investigative efforts. Grand Prairie Police Department will be here to support them however we can. With that, thank you. It was a handgun, .45 caliber weapon that was located. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Chesney. Chief Aaron from the city of Mansfield. Again, I want to echo that I hope what you see here is the response that you're going to get from Texas agencies. We're going to respond appropriately whenever the call comes out, and we're going to respond in unified response. What that means is that you just saw that the Mansfield Police Department's here standing alongside of the Mansfield ISD with Grand Prairie at Arlington. All of our federal partners are here. We brought this to a very quick resolve and without incident. I think it should be noted that everybody responded well and they responded appropriately in this. And I want to thank each and every one of y'all for being here. I also want to thank our viewers for sending us those leads. And again, I would have to echo the same thing in our city. If there is those false allegations that are going on social media, we are not going to tie up resources to those. We are going to prosecute those. We can't tie up resources, especially in an event like this, to track down unsubstantiated leads. So I would ask you to please continue to be involved in your children's lives, just like the chiefs are saying. Be involved in what's going on in your schools, and know for sure that we are going to be standing here side by side with you. Thank y'all very much for your participation, and thank all of y'all for being here.
Donald Williams, Mansfield ISD, Associate Superintendent for Communications. I want to begin by stating that it's been pretty impressive to see the tremendous work that has happened with the local law enforcement agencies. They've worked extremely well to be able to bring this particular situation to its closure. The next thing I want to mention as it relates to the reunification process for our students. We have 1,700 students that are heading over to the Mansfield ISD Center for the Performing Arts. We're working through that process with our parents and our students right now. We have counseling support that's there. We also have our student nutrition team that's there as well to be able to help our parents be as comfortable as possible. Another bit of information that we want to put out for our families as well is we're going to cancel all of our after-school activities for today. We want to make sure that we're putting our resources where they're most needed at this particular time, and that's to be able to take care of the students and the children and the parents of the Timberview High School feeder pattern. So that information is going to be going out here shortly if you haven't already got that at this particular time. Again, so grateful for the efforts of law enforcement as far as being able to help us work through this particular process. We will continue to update you from a Mansfield ISD standpoint as we get more information. Thank you.
And before we open up to questions, would either one of you be able to speak maybe to what you can of the nature of how we took the suspect into custody?
The question came up of how we took the suspect into custody. We had some communication with his attorney. He did report to an attorney. Was talking to our homicide detectives, and he drove him into our police station. We took him into custody just within the past 15 minutes.
So he turned himself in, is what you're telling us?
He turned himself in with an attorney, yes.
Guys, we can take a few questions.
For Mansfield ISD, does this high school have metal detectors? And also, there's a lot of comments from parents saying that they are not comfortable with the way bullying incidents are handled. Can you just comment on how those incidents are handled? I mean, we don't know if this was tied to that. But.
Yes, what I will say to that is we take the safety and security of our students and our faculty and staff seriously. And to your specific question as it relates to metal detectors, no ma'am, we do not have those in place, but the entire situation will be assessed and evaluated. And for us as a district, we're always looking at ways in which we can improve and get better in looking at that. But from the standpoint, we have law enforcement officers on every single one of our campuses. I think that's important for the community to know. And that's been something that's been a tremendous benefit for us as a school district. Once this particular incident occurred, The response time for our law enforcement officer that was there, present, and on the campus itself was pretty swift from that standpoint. So that's where we're at. We do not have metal detectors, but we do have law enforcement officers on every single one of our campuses.
So what is the plan to make sure nothing like this happens again?
What I spoke to earlier, we're going to reassess and evaluate the situation itself to look and see, did we have any gaps as it relates to what transpired, looking at getting better. So that's where we're going to move as far as evaluating what transpired, what took place, and move forward from there.
Are metal detectors in the future or a bag policy on the table?
Well, what I can say as it relates to metal detectors, about 3.5 years ago, we created a safety committee in which that was comprised of parents, students, community members, teachers, faculty, and staff. And the number one recommendation that came out of that particular task force was they wanted to have law enforcement officers on every campus. So that's where we moved at that particular point in time. Where we're at today is the fact that we're going to assess and evaluate every aspect of what transpired and then make recommendations as far as how we're going to move forward.
The students involved in the fight in the video and the suspect, can you confirm, are they currently enrolled? Were fully enrolled, or were they?
Yes, they were enrolled in Timberview High School. That's correct.
In the video, there's a kid with a white shirt. Is that the suspect? Can you confirm that for us?
I can't speak to that.
Can you, Chief? Because that video's been out there. We want to confirm that it's it and that he's the suspect wearing a white shirt.
I've seen the video, and I cannot confirm that at this point in time because I don't know which one was who. So, I'm
Some
sorry.
of the parents mentioned that the fight actually took place yesterday. Is this something that you guys knew about, or?
You want to comment on that? Did you do it?
It's in the middle of an
I don't have any information on that right now. So.
It speaks to, however, what you said earlier today, Chief, about what that video showcased. That there was an act of bullying, there was fighting in that classroom, and subsequent, or post that, a weapon was presented and used in that classroom, in that school. So our understanding is, and to your knowledge based on the investigation, does all this start from two kids fighting each other based on bullying, and he brought that gun in because of that?
You know, that's something that hopefully that we'll find out during our investigation. But I want to kind of go back to Mansfield Independent School District Police. They did a really good job. They have 2 police officers here. And when the police officers heard over the radio that there was a teacher that was in distress, the police officers immediately went to that classroom. And I can tell you that one police officer heard the shots as he was going up there. So I can tell you that they were on scene, quickly responding to this incident and trying to render aid to those that were injured.
And just to be clear, that video, was that from today? Do we know? I mean, is it possible that could have been yesterday or the day before? Or are we 100% sure that video is from today?
I'm not 100% sure. All I know is I saw that video and that's what was presented to me. So.
Where was the gun when the fight broke out? Did the student have it, or did he have it hidden somewhere, or was there a lag time after the fight and the time the gun showed up?
I don't have that information. Sorry.
And do you know how long it took the officers to get there? You mentioned it was swift. You said it was quick, but do you have a precise time?
I'm told that the officers responded to a distress call over the radio prior to a shooting, as I'm being told that the officers, when they responded in the area, they heard shots fired. And so what my understanding is the response by Mansfield Independent School District, it was within minutes.
Was there an alarm that went off inside to warn students?
I'm not sure on the procedure of this school. So do you have any comments? We don't have that information.
Can you talk about the disciplinary action to students that are involved in a fight? You know, does it take a day, 2 days to get them suspended, or what happens?
We're going to continue to investigate this particular situation, and the students that are involved will be dealt with in accordance to our student code of conduct, and that's the way that whole process is handled from that standpoint. They've already referenced, as it relates to the student that was actually involved in the shooting itself, the individual has been apprehended and is currently in custody.
But what are some of the things that students that are involved in fights can face? What are some of the...
It just depends on the nature of what the situation is. But I can assure you that for us within Mansfield ISD, we will deal with students based on what transpired, and they will be dealt with based on the student code of conduct.
Have you had any other incidents where a gun was found in the school within the last couple of years? And if so, what did you do about it to change protocols?
I would have to dig into that a little bit more as it relates to that particular specific question, and we can definitely get back with you as it relates to that particular question.
And do you have any information that you can confirm that there were students who had, quote, warned of this escalation between these two individuals and that a weapon was brought to this school?
I do not have that information at this particular point in time, but I can assure you that we're doing a thorough, intensive investigation as it relates to what transpired and what happened.
What's the plan for school the rest of the week? Are we still around here?
Well, what we've done, and I shared it earlier, is the fact that we've canceled all of our after-school activities at this particular time. We're in the middle of this being a very fluid process. We're in the middle of it. We're trying to get all 1,700 of our students home as it relates to with their parents. So it's a process that we're continuing to assess and evaluate today, and we'll put out additional communication as we know more information.
Chief Chesney, just both chiefs have actually on the proximity of where this gun was found. Was sort of in the Grand Prairie, Mansfield, Arlington area. You said it was found in Grand Prairie, but where in proximity to?
Within a couple miles of here.
Within 2 miles?
Yes.
It's a major thoroughfare just in the middle of the street?
It was on England Parkway. England Parkway.
Look, I just want to close and again thank you everyone for being here. This will be our last press conference here. Again, I want to emphasize that there's a lot of social media that's being pushed out right now. Some of the things that we're actually seeing too and investigating, it's not correct information. So I've tried to give you the most up-to-date correct information as I can, and then any further information during the investigation will come out of our media office. So again, thank you guys for being here and staying with us. One last question.
One more question. Was there technology in the school employed to limit cell phones coming in or out, cell phone signals coming in or out?
Technology in the school that would inhibit cell phone signals coming in or out of the building.
Ask that question again.
Was there technology used at the school to stop cell phone signals from coming in and out during the event?
No, sir.
There was not?
Nope.